Oh boy, this is one I've been looking forward to. Captain America the Winter Soldier brought the Russo brothers to the Marvel world, who prior to their MCU films were known mainly for comedies and their work on Community. So having them come in to direct a superhero tentpole film seemed like a crazy idea. Cap was now in the modern world. After freezing at the end of the first Captain America film and brought back to our times to join the Avengers, here he is a man out of time, or as a fossil as Black Widow says in the film. A man who doesn't really know where he belongs, or whether he even likes the world that he lives in now. I really enjoy this film. This is my favourite film in the Captain America trilogy. I find that this is the most compact and complete film in his trilogy, because not only is it a damn good superhero film, it's also a damn good political thriller, with some really fantastic fight choreography and chase scenes with a much bigger focus on practical effects and stunt work. The film also grounds Cap a lot more too, and although it still has the big bombastic third act that most superhero films do, it still feels like it could fit in our world. In fact, it's one of the few MCU films that I would say almost transcends the superhero genre. Joe and Anthony Russo really showed the world that you could actually experiment with different genres when making superhero films, especially after things started feeling a bit stale with Thor: The Dark World. Cap 2 is all about Cap finding where he belongs in the world, while at the same time having everything pulled out from under him, as he learns that the people that had brought him back to help others are actually the enemy. S.H.I.E.L.D. is Hydra, and everything is out in the open. Chris Evans gives one of his best performances as Captain America in this film, where we see him more vulnerable and in doubt of his duties. He gets constant reminders of the past, a war memorial, visiting an elderly Peggy Carter, and when he thinks everything is just a memory now, bam! His best friend Bucky comes back from the dead. Still the same age, just now sporting a metal arm, and trying to kill him. The movie does so well because it takes time to flesh out Captain America's world and parts of the Marvel Universe we didn't realize were there. Black Widow and Nick Fury get much bigger roles here, and all play a part in this grand scheme that Hydra has hatched, where they are trying to create a new world order under the disguise of the World Security Council. As the best conspiracy fiction does, this movie keeps you guessing as you follow the movie. And even when you do know the big twists of the film, the score and pacing just keep you absolutely riveted in everything that's going on. The revelation of Bucky Barnes as the Winter Soldier is still the driving force of this movie, and Cap's attempt to bring him back around to being a good guy. It gives Sebastian Stan a chance to play a totally different version of the character from the first movie, while pushing himself to new physical and mental limits. Sebastian Stan and Chris Evans have an incredible on-screen dynamic that only gets amplified in later films, where Bucky Barnes becomes an anti-hero. But when you look at Bucky in just this film, he becomes without a doubt one of the best villains in the MCU. It's still mind-boggling that Robert Redford agreed to be in a Marvel film, let alone the main villain of a Captain America film, as Alexander Pierce, the current leader of Hydra. The film sets up pretty early the idea that there is something more to Pierce, and so you're not that shocked when you realize he is the enemy. But the film still does a great job at pacing things out and feeding us this information, where each scene just gives you a little bit more information just as the characters are learning more, rather than blowing everything early on. Elements from the first film are brought over and adapted quite nicely, even the more cheesier aspects like Hydra Agent Zola, even if his consciousness is in a computer. Somehow they all oddly fit in this more realistic take on Cap's story. The Nick Fury death cop-out is probably one of the few weaker moments of the film, as once you see him living and healthy again, you know that any of our heroes can come back to life just as easily. It still plays into the conspiracy aspect of the film, but it's certainly on the lower side of things. The film also introduces us to Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson, aka Falcon, who just seems like the best friend a superhero could have. I don't know why Cap's making such a fuss over Bucky. The film sets up the relationship between Cap and Sam right in the beginning, with a lot of humor and fun, with the much loved on your left gag. We get to learn a little bit more about Sam as he helps soldiers who are dealing with PTSD. And although the film doesn't delve too deeply into that side of things, it gives Sam a lot of likability before he starts flying around in an exosuit. But the movie owes everything to the realistic action and fight scenes, downplaying the more bombastic CG-infused action you got in the first Cap movie. Fights and chases are fast-paced and beautifully cut together, often covering a lot of ground and tying certain areas together. It just makes you feel like you're watching The Bourne Identity with less shaky cam and more metal arms. The big fight and chase between Bucky, Cap and Black Widow is by far the highlight of the movie, where so much is happening yet feels contained and exciting. The big boat rescue is a lot of fun, as is the chase with Nick Fury and the false police officers. As I mentioned earlier, the third act does feel more like your usual superhero third act, where there's a lot of CG and explosions being used, but the mystery and intrigue is so well built up between Hydra and the heroes that this isn't a detriment to the film. The fact that Bucky and Cap's fight has much higher and more emotional stakes also adds to a hefty amount of tension to this final act. Although I'm sure most people knew that Bucky wouldn't let Cap die, right? Winter Soldier is my favourite Captain America film. It pushes the barrier of what Captain America and Marvel Studios could do, as well as prove that the Russo brothers are insanely talented at directing action. It's always a genuine pleasure to rewatch this, and I don't think I'm ever going to get tired of it. Captain America the Winter Soldier gets a 9 out of 10 from me. Guys, I hope you like this review. We'll be doing more Marvel reviews leading up to the release of Avengers Infinity War, so stay tuned for Guardians of the Galaxy coming up soon. If you want to see more movie reviews just like this one, stay right here for your Mono Fix. Bye guys.